wealth beyond measure.
I'm listening. Go ahead.
Do I?
My time is precious, so make it quick.
Try the bookseller Darissa Darvel over in the commercial district. She'll have at least some of these titles. You seem like very good company.
Hello. I hope you're ready for some reading. I have 4 selections: Saint Nerevar, Nerevar Moon and Star, the Real Nerevar, and the War of the First Council. I found the War of the First Council underneath my boy Caius Cusades' bed, and none of which from the man asshat fantabulous recommended. But I did pick up another book, Vivec and Mephala, which will come later. Let's first open with the shortest, I believe. It's from a short temple pamphlet. Saint Nerevar. Ages ago, Nerevar was the greatest Dunmer general, first counselor and companion of Vivec, Amalexia, and Sothasil, who, with the power of the great ring of the ancestors, one clan under Moon and Star, united the Dunmer houses to confront the evil Dwemer, the treacherous House Dagoff, and their western allies at Red Mountain. By providence, the faithless Dwemer were utterly destroyed and their allies defeated. But Nerevar, mortally wounded in combat with the traitor Dagoff was driven from Red Mountain. Nerevar died not long after of his wounds, but he lived to see the birth of the temple and to bless the unity of the Dunmer into the safekeeping of the Alm Civi, the temple, and all its communion of saints. Next up is Nerevar, Moon and Star. This is a selection from a series of monographs by various imperial scholars on Ashlander legends. In ancient days, the deep elves and a great host of outlanders from the west came to steal the land of the Dunmer. In that time, Nerevar was the great Khan and war leader of the house people, but he honored the ancient spirits and the tribal law, and become as one of us. So, when Nerevar pledged upon his great ring of the ancestors, one clan under Moon and Star, to honor the ways of the spirits and rights of the land, all of the tribes joined in the house people to fight a great battle at Red Mountain. Though many Dunmer, tribesmen, and housemen died at Red Mountain, the Dwemer were defeated and their evil magics destroyed, and the outlanders were driven from the land. But after this great victory, the power-hungry Khans of the great houses slew Nerevar in secret, and, setting themselves up as gods, neglected Nerevar's promises to the tribes. But it is said that Nerevar will come again with his ring, and cast down the false gods, and by the power of his ring will make good his promises to the tribes, to honor the spirits and drive the outsiders from the land. The Real Nerevar. This Telvanni retainer's informal history of Nerevar lists no sources. When the Dunmer followed Veloth to Morrowind, there were many warring clans, with no law or leader in common. One Dunmer warlord, Nerevar, had the ambition to rule all the Dunmer. In that time, House Dwemer were great enchanters, so Nerevar went in secret to a Dwemer smith and asked for an enchanted ring that would help him. The ring gave its wearer great powers of persuasion. For safety, it was enchanted to instantly kill anyone who wore it except Nerevar. The ring was called Moon and Star, and it helped Nerevar unite the various clans into the First Council. Later, however, disputes over religion divided the council, with House Dwemer and House Dagoff on one side, and all the other houses on the other. Dwemer and Dagoff invited Orc and Nord clans as allies, and held northwest Morrowind, while Nerevar mustered the other houses and nomad tribes, and marched to meet the Dwemer-Dagoff Westerner forces. The armies met at Red Mountain, a Dwemer stronghold. The Dwemer were defeated with great slaughter, and terrible sorceries were used, resulting in the utter extermination of House Dwemer, House Dagoff, and their allies. Nerevar was killed in the battle, and his ring lost, but Nerevar's alliance survives in Morrowind's ruling political institution, the Grand Council. This account, by the imperial scholar Agrippa Fungulus, is based on various imperial and Dunmer sources, written for Western readers. The War of the First Council. The War of the First Council was a first-age religious conflict between the secular Dunmer houses, Dwemer and Dagoff, and the orthodox Dunmer houses, Induril, Redoran, Dress, Hlalu, and Tilvani. The First Council was the first pan-Dunmer governing body, which collapsed over disputes about sorceries and enchantments practiced by the Dwemer and declared profane by the other houses. The secular houses, less numerous, but more politically and magically more advanced, and aided by Nord and Orc clans drawn by the promise of land and booty, initially campaigned with great success in the north of Morrowind, and occupied much of the land now comprising Redoran, Vardenfell, and the Telvanni district. The Orthodox houses, widely dispersed and poorly organized, suffered defeat after defeat until Nerevar was made general of all the house troops and levies. Nerevar secured the aid of nomad barbarian tribesmen and contrived to force a major battle at the secular stronghold of Red Mountain on Vardenfell. The secular houses were outmaneuvered and defeated with the help of Ashlander scouts, and the survivors forced to take refuge in the Dwemer stronghold at Red Mountain. After a brief siege, treason permitted Nerevar and his troops to enter the stronghold, where the secular leaders were slain and Nerevar mortally wounded. General slaughter followed, and houses Dwemer and Dagoff were exterminated. Nerevar died shortly thereafter of his wounds. 3 of Nerevar's associates among the Orthodox houses, Vivec, Alexia, and Salthasil, succeeded to control the recreated First Council, renamed the Grand Council of Morrowind, and went on to become the God Kings and immortal rulers of Morrowind, known as the Tribunal, or Civi. A bonus. Vivec and Mephala. Who is Civi? Morrowind is holy country, and its gods are flesh and blood. Collectively, these gods are called the Tribunal. The Triune Civi. 3 deities exemplifying Dunmeri virtues. Alexia is mercy, Vivec is mastery, and Sothasil is mystery. Vivec is easily the most popular of them all. Vivec is also the most public, for he is the beloved warrior poet of the true people, paradoxically beautiful and bloody. Vivec is an artistic violence. Vivec is represented in the temple literature and liturgy as one of the divine kings of Morrowind. He guards the sacred Velothi subcontinent of Vardenfell and stands guard over Red Mountain, the gate to hell. He is a part of the Holy Tribunal, a god of the New Temple, and an aspect of the blessed and righteous Civi. This explicit presentation of Vivec, the guardian god king and warrior poet, is one most accessible and familiar to Westerners. However, it is important to remember that Vivec is also known to the Dunmer as a transcendent evolution of the Daedra that anticipated him. Black Hands, Mephala, a foundation figure of the earliest Chimer. This darker side of Vivec does not appear in the popular literature and liturgy, but is instinctively understood and accepted by the Dunmer as an integral part of Vivec's divine aspect. A more complete appreciation of the complex nature of Vivec requires an understanding of the nature of Vivec's anticipation, Mephala, and the darker themes represented by this Daedra Lord's modes and motivations. Who is Mephala? Each of the 3 tribunes of the temple were represented in the dawn of Chimeri culture by their anticipations. These anticipations are known to the West as the sinister Daedra Lords Azura, Boethia, and Mephala. In temple theology, however, Azura is the anticipation of Sothasil, the mage lord of the Civi. Boethia is the anticipation of Alexia, Civi's mother and lady. Mephala is the anticipation of Vivec. According to legend, under the guidance of these 3 Daedra Lords, a discontented throng of Altmer transformed themselves into a new people and founded a new land. And while Boethia, the so-called Prince of Plots, provided the revolutionary methods needed to bring about this transformation, Mephala was the shadowy implementer of those methods. As known in the West, Mephala is the demon of murder, sex, and secrets. All of these themes contain subtle aspects and violent ones: assassination, genocide, courtship, orgy, tact, poetic truths. Mephala is understood paradoxically to contain and integrate these contradictory themes. And all these subtle undercurrents and contradictions are present in the Dunmer concepts of Vivec, even if they are not explicitly described and explained in temple doctrine. The Dunmer do not envision Lord Vivec as a creature of murder, sex, and secrets. Rather, they conceive of Lord Vivec as a benevolent king, guardian, warrior, poet-artist. But, at the same time, unconsciously, they accept the notion of darker, hidden currents beneath Vivec's benevolent aspects. For example, one of the most striking, persistent myths associated with Vivec is the story that Vivec conspired with his co-rulers Alexia and Sothasil in the murder of Lord Nerevar, the greatest of Dunmer heroes and generals. The story is derived from an Ashlander oral tradition, and is flatly contradicted by all temple traditions. Nonetheless, the tale is firmly established in the Dunmer imagination, as if to say, of course Vivec would never have conspired to murder Lord Nerevar. But it happened so long ago. Who can know the truth? The public face of Vivec is benign, sensitive, compassionate, and protective of his followers. At the same time, the Dunmer seem irrationally comfortable with the hidden aspects of Vivec, the darker components of violence, lust, and conspiracy associated with the more primitive and ruthless impulses of the anticipations.